TikTok, it's time to rock. Look what the cat dragged in. Hey? Hey? Yeah, I'm getting all these messages from people. Is it really Brad's birthday? You know, you guys haven't sacked him or anything. He hasn't left or anything like that. And I felt like starting some rumors, guys. I thought, shall I? No, I won't. It's really his birthday.
Yeah, I just somehow ended up on some other show.
Oh my lord!
Before the shepherd's crook of doom yanked you back here. Stop messing about cooking over there. Get back here.
Mate, I had a rat tat on my front door saying you not going nowhere, brother.
That's exactly it. Get back in your seat. Stop messing about.
That's it.
Welcome back, brother, from your birthday celebrations. Tell us all about it. Tell us what you got up to.
Yeah, well, it was a wonderful birthday, and I was spoilt on so many levels, which is fantastic.
Good.
Got a lot of presents from my family, my mother, my family bought me stuff. My girlfriend spoilt me, took me to a Peninsula Springs, Mineral Springs resort thing where you get stupid. And that was lovely. And got a few presents. And do you want me to show what I want to thank everyone first for all the lovely messages on socials and messages and everything. So thank you so much. I do feel very grateful, and it humbles me to think that people actually care. So thank you so much. But yeah, back on track. I got something that it's funny how the universe works. Yeah, I was looking at things online. I was looking at Amazon. I'm looking at a couple of books to buy and whatnot. And I'm like, I'm going to get some money for my birthday and that. So I'm going to buy a couple of books that I want to put in my bookshelf as collectibles. And I was showing my girlfriend a particular book, and I said, I think I'm going to buy this one. It's a bit pricey, but I'm going to give it the, add to cart and close the sale on it. She goes, yeah, you should. Anyway, so I thought, beautiful, no problem. So the next day was my birthday, and she drove all the way into Melbourne that day, like on the day, picked it up from a bookshop, which I'll name nameless. There was the only copy in Melbourne she could find. Took her like hours to get in there, pick it up, and hours to get home because of the traffic. And I ended up with this.
Wow.
Fantastic. What a great book.
So if anyone's a fan of Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page in particular, you need to get this book. I cannot believe how beautiful this book is. It's bound. It's a bound book. It's a hardcover book, and it's just got some amazing photography. And I'll try and find it's just remarkable. Some of the photography, the actual pictures, the documentation. I mean, I've only just scratched the surface of this book, but it's just got some marvelous photography, and it just astounds me that Jimmy Page has got. I mean, that page there. That my book automatically that page quite a bit, and I love that color guitar. I think I might have to. I better not. I was going to say
red one now, Brad. Do you need a red one?
Yeah, it's a beautiful guitar, but I mean the photography, it's just fantastic. And what's remarkable about Jimmy Page and what his career and what he's achieved and everything, he's still got a lot of his memorabilia. He's got a lot of the pictures of his equipment is just outstanding. I I don't really think I've seen a book as good as that. But you know, some pictures of his shirts that he's still got these things. It's remarkable.
There's even a picture in there, ladies and gentlemen, of a box of his guitar strings that he hasn't used over the years.
That's just unbelievable. I mean, some famous clothing like this one here. I've always loved this photo of Jimmy Page there, and then there's his jacket behind it. It's just amazing. I would love to see a museum full of all this stuff. If he ever did an exhibition and it was in America or something, I think I'd have to go and see it.
Tell you what, do you follow him on Instagram, Brad?
Yeah,
he's always posting really cool stuff on Instagram. This day in 1969, I did this kind of. It's really good. I think it's almost a companion piece to the book, isn't it? That kind of that Instagram thing and what he does there. It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. I know we haven't got a lot of new material from Jimmy Page over the last decade or two, even maybe. But obviously, he's been busy doing things like this. This would have taken decades to put together.
Brad, so I agree with you, and this is something that the three of us have discussed many times on this channel, and we'll continue to discuss. Our heart and souls go out to Jimmy Page, because Simon, Rock Professor, he is, and we've got the book that Brad's got, all of us, he is a wonderful archivist, and he's doing this, Brad, when he's alive. You know, he's not waiting until he's dead.
No,
or the estate's not waiting until he's dead and then getting somebody else to do it, Brad. He's doing it now while he's alive and kicking. That deserves 10 out of 10. That's a Brad score.
Yeah. Well, make sure you remember 6 minutes 50 something seconds for the three of us. We're all holding this.
But look, I've got to echo what Brad says, and I know the Rock Professor is. It's a book worth getting. You'll be amazed by it. Whatever the cost is, go and get it. I think Brad's right. It's going to get to a stage where it's going to come out maybe in second or third editions, and it won't be cheap because it's a big book, as Brad said.
But lovely book, another book to the addition of things that are resources that we use on this show, and no better resource than what from the artist himself.
Yeah. John, fantastic. Is there a page which lists which pages on?
Our man John. Our man John just
well done, John.
They just
brilliant.
rattle. He's just a machine gun, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
that's beautiful. That is. Oh dear.
There's a couple of other things we're going to do before we kick the show off. Rock Professor's got a couple of things to show. Then Brad's going to do another shout out, and then I'm going to do a shout out.
Yeah.
Right. So yesterday I went, as you will know, my mum died in October, so we went over and started sorting the stuff out, and I got some swag. What's the swag? The first swag I got is this, the official Blues bootleg. It's the first one in with such great alumnus as Paul Jones, Tom McGuinness, Huey Flint, Dave Kelly, and Gary Fletcher, and all those guys are bastions of the British blues thing from the, from the '60s. Manfred Mann and others. Huey Flint played on sort of John Mayall records and things, didn't he, as well? So that's fantastic. And I also got this as well. I found this.
Wow.
She's a 12-inch version of Magical Mystery Tour. Sadly, it doesn't have the 24 color booklet in it. But it's got this famous kind of internal cover and stuff. But I think it must be fairly original, I guess, because I don't know where it's on Capitol, not on Parlophone, so I guess it might be an import in some way.
If it's on Capitol, it will be an American. It's American.
Yeah, especially imported in America. So I don't know where that came from, but I thought I'd nab that. If my brother's watching.
Good.
So some cool swag.
That's what happens, ladies and gentlemen, when you are the Rock Professor.
Yes. You go mooch through record collections and go, ooh, look at that. That's an import. I'm having that. To go alongside my original Help and Hard Day's Night on parlophones that I have.
Yeah.
Came from that we had in the 60s, which I'm pretty sure original ones.
There's a couple of things. So we're going to do a
Don't tell my
shout out.
family. They'll be charging me.
We'll do a shout out soon. But Brad, we're on shout outs. You've got a shout out you want to do.
Yeah, we yesterday we had a fantastic show. Massive shout out to Nick 70. Thanks for joining us. It was a awesome show. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check it out. Jump on the channel and check it out. Andrew will maybe share on this one a link to it so you can watch it after this show. But a massive thank you, Nick, for joining us. Very insightful. Always learn something new when we chat to Nick on his socials. I always learn something, and even again yesterday I learned a bucket of things that I've been sitting around trying to practice today. Can't do it, but I'm getting there. But the thing is, such an inspirational person and a lovely guy to boot. But what a player! So I'm looking forward to the future and looking forward to seeing what what the future holds for Nick 70. He's a wonderful man and a fantastic guitarist.
Fantastic, bro. Thank you.
Yeah,
that was a great show
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Rock Professor.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting us there. And we'll share a little bit of information. We don't mind passing that on to you guys in the chat that support us. It might seem, okay, that these three guys here, they get together, they do this weekly thing, and then people want to come on, and then they just jump on. Well, it's not like that, You've got time zones to work out, and then obviously days, and then you've got agendas, and especially, too, if somebody is a musician or gigging like Brad is, for example, that's why he couldn't join us for a while there towards the end of last year, because he's gigging, and some of these other guys that we've wanted to get on, folks on, they can't too, Brad, because they're gigging or working or doing other stuff. So when we can get them, we'll grab them.
Yeah. It takes a bit of with certain guests, because they're busy. It takes a lot to get them on, and so it's weird, but it is what it is, and it's wonderful when all the stars and planets align and we can get people on and remarkable guests. We've got some really cool things planned. Hopefully in the next few months we'll have some wonderful guests on. But we're so blessed and grateful to get people on like Nick and all the guests we've had on for the last few years that I've been part of this channel. It's remarkable the things we've learned from these people. It's been amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Been it. And of course your show last night with Hoss and Jim and John.
Yes.
But, I was in the first half of the and then I went to bed. But it was great.
Hoss, just such an amazing human being.
Amazing, isn't he? Yeah.
He's just
amazing.
An amazing human being. We're very glad to have him part of the channel as well.
Big time, bro. And I'm glad you said that, because, I mentioned it live, and we'll say it again to the people here watching us. This is our channel putting our mouths and our money all together in one little bag, because we've always said that if you're part of our channel and if you come on and do something with us, isn't it, Simon, we'll help you promote or do anything, any project you have. And so, Hoss, because he did that guitar show in 2019, Brad, which blew us all away and everyone away. So he tells us on our Christmas show that he's going to do a Malmsteen thing, and we go, oh, wow. So get him on to promote his show. He grabbed the opportunity, thought it was fantastic, sort of said, is it going to fit? I said, yeah, man, you'll make it work.
You'll do it. You'll be fine. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
got to agree with you though, bro. Nice guy. Just a good guy.
Beautiful.
And an amazing talent. Just, inspirational.
Yeah. Guys, can I do one thing too? So, and I don't have it here with me, So forgive me for not having it. I'll make sure I have it during the week. I left it at work, but a very dear friend of the channel sent me something, and I didn't know I was going to get anything until the courier dropped it off. So I made a little video for that person, and I knew straight away who sent it to me when I saw what was on the thing, because that person sent me the photo. So I'm going to play the video. Here it is, guys. I was hoping that she'd be here, but we'll play it now, and if she pops in, give me an opportunity to play it when she comes in, guys. I've seen this photo before. I received this nice gift. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Holly. So she sent me a cup with my mug on it.
Lovely.
A mug. Get it? A mug on a mug.
A mug with your mug. Yeah, mug shot. Yes.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Holly. Really appreciate it. It's a kind gesture. And I know that she conspired with the Rock Professor because she didn't have my address.
Wow.
Yes.
All right.
She asked me whether it would be all right. I said yes, it would, and I gave her your address to do it. I hope that was all right.
So if you guys want to send me guitars or anything like that, ask the Rock Professor will give you my. And I live in New Zealand. I don't live in Bristol in the UK, because that's where Simon lives.
You have to send it all to me. I have to vet it first to make sure that it's all right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yes. I live in Hamilton, Bristol, New Zealand, UK.
Oh boy.
Dear.
What else are we doing? Have we done the intro?
Well, I'm going to do a shout out to the. I'm going to do a shout out to the people in the chat, because they've
you
been
do a
waiting
shout
for us
out.
for ages.
I better go and grab a Coke while you're doing it. Please, no disrespect to the people being shouted out to.
No worries. So, good morning to Nelson Rodriguez. How you doing, Nelson? Tim Thomas, Ellen. Good morning, Ellen, as ever, with us, which is fantastic. Good to see you. Gret Zeppelin. And Derek Clacton just dropping by. Thanks, Derek. I know you'll listen to it on replay, but good to see you. And thanks for dropping by with a little message. Always appreciated. Who else we got? We've got John ZD351 busy final cleaning his flat, his last flat house, whatever he had, and hope the move went well, John. And you're just sorting out the minor bits. Arvin as well. Arvin, good morning, Arvin. Hope you're good. And we've got Fruitcake Tony as well. Good morning, Fruitcake. Good to see you. I think that's everyone. Tim Thomas, I think that's everyone who's made a comment. I hope I didn't miss anybody. That would be bad. But I don't think so. Yeah, so morning, everyone. Great to see you. Fantastic. And
yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Rock Professor. Are we going to kick the ranking of the tracks off? What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think we've got a show to do, guys.
Yes.
We can sit here and talk rubbish all night long, can't we?
Quite
easy.
Yes. Sadly, yes, we could. All too easy. So, anyway, this week we are doing a Savoy Brown, Getting to the Point. Savoy Brown has been on our list for a long time. And they're one of those sort of slightly minor British blues bands that are in there with Stan Webb's Chicken Shack and others like that who have made albums through the years and sort of kept going and kept doing stuff. Yeah, wait a minute. It's uncanny, the similarity.
Can I interrupt, Simon? Can I interrupt for 1 second? See that album?
Dear.
Put that cup back up, Andrew.
Yeah.
Put it back
Okay,
up.
the secret out. I was in Savoy.
Yeah. Now go back to the album cover.
When did you notice that? When did you notice that?
When I was uploading the photos, I
Really?
thought,
Wait a minute.
I have to do this.
Hey, Andrew, put the album cover back up again, right? Put the album cover back up again. Now imagine that, and then the glasses, it would be like a picture of Andrew and a picture of me in the other one.
Yeah.
John ZD351. You're going to have to Photoshop that, bro.
Yes. Yeah, what? Me with you in my glasses, dear me.
All right, back to the show.
Lovely. Sorry. Fantastic. Oh, so fantastic. So anyway, yes. Lovely. Fantastic. Look at that. So Savoy brand, as I say, kind of, it sort of started in the sort of 66, and they sort of, were in that vanguard of those British blues bands going for an authentic, American blues sound. Very much, this album is very much like the Beano album in terms of, if you remember, the Beano album has quite a lot of different styles. He's got John Mayall doing some stuff on his own, and all sorts, so a lot of different styles on it. Country blues, Chicago blues. This has a kind of similar kind of vibe to it, and I can see that they basically were going for that kind of very authentic American sound and trying to make it as authentically blues as possible. Which I think so. The mainstay of Savoy Brown has been a man called Kim Simmons, and he died sadly late last year. He had, I know that him and Robert Schaffner and certainly they were friends, weren't they? They knew, and Michael, they knew each other. I don't think they'd worked together. Michael Freeman, I think they'd done some records together. So we have a strong connection to Mr. Simmons, which I think is really cool. So it's been about time we got round to maybe some of these, more minor people in the great British blues explosion in the mid '60s. And so basically, Kim Simmons formed Savoy Brown in 1966 with that fellow blues enthusiast and harmonica player John O'Leary. And they set up a regular blues club, because that's what you did in those days. Set your own blues club up to Kilroy's in an upstairs room of the Nag's Head Tavern on York Road in Battersea. And attracted the attention of no lesser producer than Mike Vernon, the great Mike Vernon, who recorded the Beano album amongst many other things. So, and clearly one of the pillars of this channel, Mike Vernon. So, all that fantastic work he did. So, and they recorded a single with him. He said there was a style. Theirs was a style which took no prisoners. Yeah, so they clearly made an impression. And they were also, quite interestingly, the UK's first racially integrated blues band, fronted by black singer Bryce Porteous, featuring drummer Leo Manning, later a member of Bob Brunning's long-winding Bruning Hall Sunflower Blues Band. Clearly another one. So, Getting to the Point is their second studio album, and had a different lineup from their first record. And I think one of the things that I see in this is they had a constantly evolving lineup, and I think that probably was one of the barriers to them actually making more of a success of things, because when you've got it constantly embedding new musicians, and you don't get a chance to really form a proper musical style identity, and so they kept this kind of with really only Kim Simmons as the only member, really static member, who stayed all the way through. So it was released in 1968, and finds the group taking on more of the songwriting load. as opposed to their debut, which was consisting only of covers. And we'll go to them. So, I mean, Simmons, seemingly without bitterness, said history hasn't been kind to Savoy Brown because we never had the iconic success of some other acts. But the fact of the matter was, in '67, we had a very, very authentic sound, and that hadn't been heard before. And I think that's something to really bear in mind when we're looking at this record. That quest for authenticity, and we've talked about it a lot on this channel. With regard to other albums, that in the mid '60s, people are forming. They've heard American blues, the Rolling Stones, and all. And what they're going for is trying to recreate that authentic sound. That they've heard on those Muddy records, those Chess records, the things that everybody heard in those days. And I think it's really worth bearing in mind with this record that that's what they're going for. It's a kind of another example of quite a sort of serious, almost educational approach to these things. Where that's what you're going for. I'm going to try and make it as authentic as possible, to try and send out what I've heard to the British public, to the British record buying public, gig going public, the things that I've heard. Because there's Holly. Good morning, Holly. Thanks for the mug. Fantastic. But so I think that's really worth saying and really worth bearing in mind when we're looking at this record, because I think some of it is it's about of the time that it was produced. And I'm quite fond of talking about of the time that things are actually produced, and I think you have to bear it in mind with this record. It would be a whole different kettle of fish if it had come out in the '70s, or indeed the '90s or whatever. But when there would have been much more kind of put your own stamp on it, and kind of whereas I think here that's not what is happening. What happening is trying to create that authenticity of the things that they'd heard and kind of pass them, but writing their own songs to do it as well. So, well, that's a bit of background. I think most famous, we should say that 3 of the future members went on to form Foghat in the US. I think that's the great link, I think. So, so yes, I've started off. So track 1, side 1 is. Of course, side 1. This is an LP. It's called Flood in Houston. I think I'd say about this that it is it's quite a slow blues, isn't it? It's a kind of it comes in a kind of quite tentative way. He plays that first little bend he plays. It's a bit. Ooh, I don't know what you guys think. I think I would have gone back and fixed that myself. I would have gone, but maybe they wanted that kind of tentative thing to you sort of slowly roll into something as a thing. And you've got Yulden's, Chris Yulden's, great vocals as well coming in. Particularly, he's got his own voice for sure. And but there's that kind of restraint in the playing, and and this is definitely a Simmons kind of showcase, really. This album, I think, in many ways is a Simmons showcase. His guitar is all over it. He's the one playing all the pretty much all the solos and stuff, and he's right up front, and there's a lot of it that you can tell that you could tell that kind of recording technique that clearly Mike Vernon's got from the Beano album. Some of it sounds live in the studio, with the microphone set right back, and and he's letting it fly, turning it up and going for it. He's a Les Paul player. So I think it's got some really cool kind of guitar licks. I'd have to say the other star of this show, lots of things on here, is Rivers Job, the bass player, who's, I think, amazing. I think that Andrew, you can talk more about this from a bass player's perspective, but I would say that the bass is on this record is great, and really stands out, really stood out to me. Interestingly, it's a typical '60s record. It's got lots of space in it, lots of time to breathe and things. So it's not cluttered up too much. And this is it's a kind of, I don't know, it's a kind of almost a bit tentative feeling into the album bits, but they get going, and there's some great guitar playing from Simmons, great cool guitar licks with lots of feel, but lots of restraint and lots of space, as I've said. And so 8.5 out of 10 from me. Never a skip. I can't remember who's next.
Next.
I can't remember who we decided was next. That's hopeless, isn't it? Go on,
Thank you, Rock Professor, for a wonderful introduction. I just want to make reference to this book here, ladies and gentlemen. Go and find a copy of this book if you can. It's called Blues: The British Connection by a guy called Bob Brunning. It hasn't been printed since 2002. And I got this in 2002, and it's got a chapter on this band. And I'd heard of this band, but not paid a lot of attention, Brad, I've got to be honest, in the 90s to this band. It wasn't until, into the 2000s where I was rediscovering this kind of music that it blew me away. And I mean, literally blew me away. And we'll talk about being blown away as we progress through the songs. Rock Professor, I'm going to time you out.
Track 1 timed out already. Referee.
Look, we're serious in our rankings of the tracks on these albums, and I might have a little bit of sort of personal fondness to this album, and I'm going to share that with you guys through the course of the rankings.
Cool.
As the Rock Professor said, we were scheduled to do this this was supposed to be the first show of the year, wasn't it? But then Jeff Beck passed away. Is that correct? Yeah. And then we bumped this for some Beck shows. So this is so I've been listening to this, gosh, well and truly for weeks on end. And so my rankings have grown, I suppose, in significance for this show. But Brad, cool. For me, straight away, when you hear the first note on this album, you're listening to British Electric Blues. It's got that element to it, but there's something really, really interesting about this song. And it's an interesting characteristic that doesn't happen in a lot of British Electric Blues songs, is that that they've managed to write straight away in this first number, incorporate classic Chicago blues, and they're doing it right. For me, hands down, it's just a wonderful achievement on this song that they've managed to do that. I think the reason why they've done that so well, Rock Professor, and you've mentioned it in your intro, Kim talks about it in a few interviews himself. He took blues music seriously, and Brad, we've discussed this too many times. Clapton did, Page did. These guys were on a mission. They took they were pioneers, they were missionaries for this music, bro. They didn't switch off, Brad.
No.
So this authenticity that the Rock Professor spoke about comes through on this song, and I think it's that human element, it's that man-made thing that we have, So for me, this is a 10 out of 10. It's not a miserable, mealy, miserly, stoogey 8. Brad.
Saucer of milk for Mr. Walton.
My goodness. Well,
yeah, me.
I mean, I'm fairly new to this record. I never really gave it much of a chance. I have heard it before, but to be honest with you, I've only really started listening to it again this year when we decided we were going to do this record, guys. And, for me, it's always fun to investigate music that I've missed or overlooked. I knew about it, obviously didn't give it enough attention because with the first listen to this recently, firstly, I'm going to say, what an amazing way to open a record with a slow blues. I mean, it's not a common thing to do. You normally put something fairly strong, upbeat, powerful first. For a song like this, you normally put it somewhere track 3, track 4, like it's a slow blues. It wouldn't necessarily come straight in off the bat with this type of tempo slow blues, in my opinion. But hey, it works wonderfully. And look, it's the first thing that grabbed me was that killer guitar tone. I just thought to myself, because you put yourself, and I listened, guys, I put myself on other albums that came out around the same time. And I think this was 68, March 68 it came out. So I put on some records that were like 67, 68, including like popular bands at the time, like The Doors, Jimi Hendrix, and as well as blues bands, because they were absorbing the blues themselves. So they were all about the blues, but expanding it. These guys stuck to their guns a little bit and did more of that blues thing. And the guitar tone is just absolute killer. I love how it's bare bones. It's just guitar, one guitar track, bass, and drums and vocals. There's no overdub guitar on this. There's no piano. There's no nothing. It's just basically Now, I don't know I don't know enough about this band to say it sounds like they recorded this live, but I've got a feeling that this was, all right, boys, let's go. So they press record, and off they went. There's some wonderful playing, really heartfelt vocals. I thought to myself, without capturing, going on too much about what you guys have already touched on, what a wonderful example of less is more, and playing for the song. Guitar playing, in my opinion, by Kim Simmons. I hear a lot of Peter Green, I hear a lot of Clapton, and I hear a lot of like B.B. King in there with some of the notes up high and the way he's phrasing. So for me, I'm going to probably get a lot of ticks from Andrew on this. I'm giving it 10 out of 10 nevaaskip. I think it's a wonderful way to open an album, and only these guys probably could have pulled it off the way they have.
Yeah, I agree. Good point. It's a good point.
Okay. It's a 10.
No, we don't. We're not bullies around here. We just ditch you. You just. There's no bullying going on. You just zip out, gone.
That's right, Simon. I think you're timed out, but it's okay. No,
Fine. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. Yeah. Carry on without me then. See if I can. Oh dear. Stop that now. No. Well, I'm pleased with myself, really. Always into trouble already.
At least we had fun. That's the main thing, yeah?
Hey, gotta have some fun. Otherwise, it's not worth it, is it?
No.
So anyway, after my massive faux pas on the first track, I'm now doing this with some trepidation of
no, don't
well,
change.
I'm gonna get a booting. Yeah, I'm now putting it all. Now everything's going to be a 10 now because it's.
Don't change it.
Oh dear. So anyway, track 2 is the second the second original by the band as well. So starting off with 2 originals. This is much more what you might expect to be a kind of an opening track of the album.
Yep.
It bounces along in a very cheerful manner. Also, the addition, I think, of the piano playing very much kind of, gives it a bit more of a Chicago blues feel with guitar, bass, drums, and those, that kind of much more classic Chicago blues kind of band thing. But yeah, what I would call a brisk shuffle, really, sort of, crack on into it. And again, great bass playing. I think, as I say, the bass player is one of the stars of this album for sure. I agree with you about it. It is, must be, most of it must be live, mustn't it? In the studio. It's and I get, that guitar tone is, to me, is very Mike Vernon guitar tone, isn't it? The way it's recorded is very clearly a kind of signature, what I would call signature Mike Vernon recording, especially. I think that the piano is not just the baritone; it's very much the joint lead instrument with Simmons' guitar on this. Vocals are kind of a bit further back in the mix. Very much got that, very much with that guitar and the call and response and a piano solo to end, kind of thing. So, yeah, in a way, I agree. I would have expected this possibly. I don't know, where the track listing came from, but I might have expected this to be first. But as I say, it's much more of an open track. But 8.5 out of 10, and never a skip from me.
Awesome. I'm next. Stay With Me, Baby. Again, as the Rock Professor said, it's got a nice, crunchy guitar, and that up-tempo song is backed by classic Chicago boogie-woogie piano. And in the words of our dear Brad Cook, in the words of the Backdoor Man, a really, really tasty guitar solo. And what's really, really nice too is that nice boogie-woogie piano playing on the outro. Love it. 8 out of 10, Brad. Never a skip.
Yeah, I agree. Look, I would have thought this would have been the first track on the album, but again, I think it's great what they did on the first track, but this one here, it's got a little bit more of an up-tempo feel to it. Overall on this song, it's some great musicianship. I thought the bass and drums were really good on this track. The guitar, vocals, they're on point, and that piano that's in there really gives it some wonderful color. And some great guitar licks throughout the song, but the solo, perfect example of classy, simplistic, and perfect for the song. There's some wonderful blues phrasing. It's almost like there's some textbook blues phrasing in there to learn if you're sitting along and play with it, which I did this afternoon. I sat and tinkered on the guitar while I was playing, and I tried to mimic the licks, and a lot of them are textbook, like there's a lot of really cool stuff there for you. If you're a guitarist, advanced, intermediate, you give it a go. It's really fun. Look, the vocals on this were a standout for me, I thought. It's got a really cool vibe throughout the song. I gave this one a 9 out of 10, guys. Never a skip for me.
Wow. Awesome.
Really enjoyed it.
Rock, and Alan's given it a 10 out of 10. So we're in, okay. We're within ballparks there.
I'm just ranking them as I see, kind of against what we've got coming up and things like that. If you're going to have the mountains, you're going to have justify. So track 3 is Honeybee. So this is the first cover on the album by Muddy Waters. I think there's a great feel, great self-control throughout. I mean, I think this is quite a long. This is 6 minutes, over 6 minutes long. So it's kind of, but they don't let it get away, do they? It doesn't go. And one of the interesting things about it is there's great use of dynamics. There's great use of space, letting things breathe within the tracks, as you say. That kind of live thing. Sorry, guys. That live thing that you get with a band playing together, if you do get that lots of space, don't you? And this is all pre-pedal, so guitars plug straight into amps. It gives you that sound. So the other interesting thing is how it is. So rhythm lead guitars play phrases in unison, very authentic vocals and stuff. It's they're clearly going for that authentic sound. Of course, on this track, no drums. The major thing on this track, no drums, which is, and actually, it took me a couple of listens before I realised there were no drums. So clearly, I wasn't listening properly. But I think that's interesting that it's basically just 2 guitars and bass, isn't it, playing on this bit of rhythm guitar, but mainly it's Kim Simmons again doing that kind of lead guitar and the singing, and great, quite restrained lead playing. Quite lots of feel, lots of space, and the kind of soulful vocals as well. I gave this a 9 out of 10. I thought this is great as a third track, and never a skip from me. Great, yeah, great cover. Andrew.
Alan's given it a 9 out of 10 as well too. I might be in trouble here. Honeybee, what a remarkable, incredible intro on this song. It drips of authentic Chicago blues for me. And the real star on this number is the vocals. I'm trapped in this classic jute joint in Chicago somewhere. That's what the song does for me. And again, it's a classic example of the British blues interpretation of the Chicago style. It's a phenomenal track. I won't talk about the fact that there's no drums. The Rock Professor's already mentioned that, and I don't know why they did that. I have no idea. I couldn't find out why. So clearly that must have been a Vernon thing. I think it adds to the flavour of the track. This is a Brad score for me. Never a skip. Wonderful, wonderful example of these British cats playing Chicago blues, Brad.
I agree. It's fantastic. Some fantastic blues playing. It's very, it's got that traditional blues feel for me. The dual guitar thing that's going on there, and the way that they the whole vibe of the song. They're just playing very much. Like they were sitting around in a like you said a club and playing blues and without a drummer. It's got a great guitar sound as well. The solo is very heartfelt. The vocals are again I reckon some great vocal techniques employed throughout the whole song. Gives you more of that traditional blues feel, and I think that whatever they were going for, I think they got pretty damn close because it sounds authentic the way they're going about it. I love it. I ranked it 8.5 out of 10 in comparison to the rest of the tracks on the album, guys. So I hope you don't find me out for.
Oh, look! I noticed that he doesn't get timed out for.
No, I'll try and keep it unpersonal from now on.
Ooh, impersonal. Ooh. But I think you're right. I mean, I think that one of those things about not having drums is it's a big contrast thing, isn't it? You know, if you're looking for dynamics, you're looking, as we said 100 times before, and I won't labour it, but we're not looking at somewhere with loads, time when there was loads of effects, loads of things. What you were talking about is how do you create a dynamic, interesting A, track, and B, album? What things do you do? And clearly they do things like, add in the piano on the second track. The piano's not on the first track. The piano's not on this track, but it is on the second track. And then you don't do that, or you take away the drums. So all you've got is this this blues thing, but without the drums on it, and I think it's all about finding a way, because it could get very samey, couldn't it? I've got two guitars, bass, drums, and I think but this is the the mid 60s, where that musicality is opening up. You're looking at ways of creating different sounds, different atmospheres, different spaces, different dynamics. And the way, as we've said a lot on this channel, the way you do it is you play loud, quiet, change the tone, and you change the arrangements of songs so that they stick out. They're a contrast, and I think that clearly one of the ways of doing that is if not, I mean it. I presume that's, as you say, Andrew, that Mike Vernon must have had some say in that, because
cool. What's the next track that we're doing?
Anyway, the next track is The Incredible Gnome Meets Jackman.
Yes.
Which is a very 60s title, isn't it? It's a very mid 60s title, in contrast to Honeybee,
which is a 50s.
Which is very much a 50s thing. Yeah, much more straightforward. But so this is a Simmons original, and it's basically a shuffle beat duet between the two guitar players. So again, that contrast, now we're getting the two guitars doing something together, which we haven't really had before. The Axeman, presumably being Dave Peverett from his time in I'm not getting that wrong. Yes, Dave, that's right. Get his name right. because he had a band called the Lonesome Jacks Blues Band. So one is assuming that which leaves Simmons as the Incredible Gnome. Not sure about that, but so they play in unison to start with. It's a full band straight in, that kind of with the piano again. So the piano's back in, bass drums rolling along in a kind of pretty straightforward boogie way. As I've said, the two guitars play in unison, and then they trade licks for a verse or two before Kim lets fly in the whilst towards the end, and really gets some. Simmons really winds it up in the last minute of the song stuff. Yeah, great. Again, it's that contrast thing, isn't it? So again, 8.5, 10 from me, and never a skip. I can't speak anymore, but Andrew.
Okay, if Stepping Out or Hideaway or The Stumble are definitions, Brad, of classic British blues instrumentals, this number, in my opinion, deserves a place in the canon of British electric blues instrumentals. This number, in my opinion, and from my research anyway, has been hidden for a long, long time. And it goes back to what the Rock Professor said, I think, in his intro about the thing that never gave them the catalyst, to superstardom that some of their other contemporaries had. And, that's open for discussion what that may or may not have been. But the point is, I'm listening to this in 2023. So it's my mission. It's the mission of this channel to make this song, this number, widely known. It's an incredible piece of music. And Brad, I've got to Brad score this. I just think it's up there. It's up there with it's up there with the best that we've ranked and discussed. And I'm going to make sure that I include this Incredible Gnome number in there. Brad score.
Brad score.
Whoa!
Whoa, blown away. The Incredible Gnome meets Jack's Band. So it's a wonderful instrumental. So got that medium up-tempo blues shuffle with some amazing drumming, the bass and piano holding it down. I guess we're really treated to some incredible guitar playing, some blues playing here. The licks and very traditional style blues playing, especially the unison guitar parts. I like that at the start and the end of the song. And I loved, there's the guitar solo in it where it just sort of launches and it goes for it. And for me, I think it's a wonderful instrumental. It really captures the era. It really does. I think I could back up what Andrew was saying, where it could be, it needs to be in the canon of British electric blues, and I gave it a 9 out of 10. Never a skip for me.
Good score.
Down the middle, yeah. And again, I'd say that kind of that contrast thing, isn't it? It's got no vocals, this is instrumental kind of thing. Yeah. So, clearly within the genre, playing with the dynamics, with the making those changes, and one, you don't know what's coming next track wise, what instruments are going to be on what, and whether somebody's doing something or not. So it's that's quite bold, really, isn't it? Because oh yes, track C, we're going to have the drummer, right? Just sit it out, and we'll just get on with it without you doing anything. So track 5, the last track on side 1 is "Give Me a Penny." So again, traditional, arranged by Simmons and Youlden, but clearly has its roots in "Give Me One Penny," which is a Big Mama Thornton's 1966 recording with Muddy Waters. So if you listen to that, there's very much that link into there. Again, that thing about I'm linking it to the authentic Chicago Muddy Waters Chicago blues thing. That's clearly one of the aims of this record, and it's clearly signposted here by them doing this track as a thing. It's got a little more grit to it, I think, a little more punch to it than maybe the Muddy Waters one, and so it's starts off with that dramatic dada riff at the beginning, drums, bass, and guitar all in together. Quite a full sound. We now got the full band playing, and you've got the piano. Great singing as well. I think very impassioned singing, and he's a great singer. What's his name? God, I'm not very good with the names today. Chris Yulden. I think he does a fantastic job of singing. Another impassioned, biting solo from Simmons, Kim as well, and and some sort of scat singing towards the end. That's a great track. I gave this a 9 out of 10. Never a skip. That's one of my favourites. Great track. Andrew.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's got a darker tone going on this, and it's offset, isn't it, with that classic Otis Spann, keyboards going, piano going on, fiery guitar solo. I noticed that there's one little thing that's really, really different in the technique on this, is there seems to be a lot more digging in, Brad, with the pick on this number than on any of the other previous songs. There's a definite, he's either back at the bridge, hardcore playing it, but there's definitely, digging into the strings. And as the Rock Professor said, a nice little rap from the vocalist at the conclusion. Nice, cool little number. I've given 8 out of 10, but Brad, it's never a skip.
Yeah, look, I love that little blues intro. It's got some fantastic vocals, especially like the verses. It's got like a traditional sort of I don't know. I can't really describe it. It's like a backbeat or something. There's something quite unique going on with that in the verses, and then it's where the turnaround when the drums come in. So it's sort of like the drums aren't really playing through the verses, if that makes sense. It's
sure,
like an accenting.
Yeah.
And then the drums come in during the verses. Is it? You got knowing what I'm talking about there.
It's that thing about they don't play in the first bit and then they play in the second bit, kind of thing.
When it gets to the turnaround, they do this. The drums come in. It sounds fantastic. That on the second and third listen through, because the first time I was confused. I was like, what's going on here? And then the second and third time it really made sense to me, and I think that was very clever the way they did that. That gives me or it brings me to my point about this song, about this band, that they were obviously trying to be innovative with traditional blues. So they were actually doing something that wasn't normally traditional in a traditional vibe. So maybe stretching the boundaries within blues they were trying to there. I thought it was very cool. There's some great guitar playing, and the solo flies off with some stinging aggressive notes. There's some really good playing on there. I gave it 8.5 out of 10, guys. Never a skip.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Is this when we do the flicking through the picks?
Yeah.
I think picks, end of side one, picks.
Okay, so we've already made the connection between this thing and that thing.
Not the other. Oh, dear.
So the Rock Professor's sponsoring the photos, ladies and gentlemen, this week. I've got to make an honest what's the word here? Discussion here, Brad. I didn't know what I'm looking for, so I haven't got a lot of picks here because I wanted to make sure that I thought that I was getting the band from this era. So if anybody is watching this on replay and we've got some of the photos wrong or the eras wrong, please let us know in the comments. I'm not a complete 100% expert on this band, and I'm going to probably think that the Rock Professor and Brad isn't either to the point that we would be familiar with other numbers, other bands. Does that make sense, bro?
100%. I know exactly what you're saying.
So this is a pick apparently from '68 when the album came out. So this would have been a typical band setup. And again, Brad, there's that common theme here, bro, of a tight stage setup.
On stage, yeah.
You can see Kim there playing his Flying V. He was a player of Les Pauls, Flying V's, and ES 335s, as I understand.
Loved his Gibson.
Yeah, there he is there. Again, from the same era, playing as Gibson.
Yep. That's a very cool pick.
And that's from 68, 69. So again, I'm not going to pretend to know who's who. But that's apparently a famous band pick that was used in a lot of material.
Post-war building site there.
Yeah.
Very, very common around 60s London. You know, it's only 20 years after the Second World War, and a lot of London was still had sort of those destroyed buildings, bomb site areas.
Yeah.
That's a pic that was taken for one of their first tours to the US.
Yep.
Another publicity shot there of the band. Lots of hair,
Great top
Brad.
hat.
Very cool look.
I thought this was really, really interesting. So that's Kim meeting Muddy.
That's nice.
In 65.
65. Wow.
So the boy had blues in him. So obviously in his interviews when he talks, Brad, about, you know, I'm a man on the mission, spreading the mission of blues music. If he spent time with Muddy Waters and played and hung out with him, he wouldn't be doing anything other than that.
That's right.
That's a up-to-date shot I thought I'd throw in of Savoy Brown as they were before Kim passed away. Brad,
cool.
look, you'll be happy there. What's he playing, brother?
Oh, the Les Paul. Very nice.
Red one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a red. Oh, yeah, good eyes there, Rock Professor.
Yeah.
I've already shown that one. That was the stage setup, Simon, of them back in 68.
Yeah.
And again, tight setup.
I saw that.
Very
Yeah, and, you know, that my classic thing I was going about, you know, they're not spread out for miles across, you know, the Great Wide. It's all huddled around the drums, get round it.
That's a pick of them in the States. And again, you know, he's playing as Gibson.
Yeah. Two Gibsons, yeah, or two Humbuckers. Yeah.
That's a version of the band, I think, after 68. I think that's a 69 or 70 version of Savoy Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last pick there of Kim playing. Looks like a
Nice.
54, Brad. You reckon with that P90s in there?
Yeah, P90s, definitely. Definitely P90s in there. Looks like a 54 in that era.
So thank you for allowing me to show those
excellent.
picks, Simon.
Yeah, it's good. Excellent. I'd say they give a tremendous. I think they give a tremendous flavour of, you know, the time and the band. You know, when you have a kind of feel about what they were like live, don't you? When you watch those big amps and stuff, but you know, the guitars plugged straight in, you know, huddled round, you know, in a group, kind of, you know, very much playing together, very much making a collective sound.
Gosh,
very
that would
much
have been great live.
You know,
that would have been a fantastic.
Yeah.
If you listen to this album and then listen and then think what they would have been live. Wow.
100%.
Yeah.
And with all that equipment
yeah.
on stage, geez, it would have been loud.
Would have been loud.
Oh, yeah. I dare say it would have been
Well, you know.
pretty damn.
Yeah, it's I mean, I guess you feel that it's interesting, isn't it? You're not putting it through the PA, so you have to play to the loudness of the drummer, really, don't you? You're not, you know, I don't know, you know, I doubt there was much putting the drums through the PA in those things, because I don't know what the PAs were like, but my memory of the PAs is that they were very much kind of vocal things and not, you didn't put instruments through them, you know, so you're relying on the stage sound to carry you through. Clearly indoors, that's fine, but and you're relying on, you know, getting a balance by playing to how loud the drummer's playing.
Well, it wasn't until the 70s where they started having decent PAs in America. You know, the Stones in '69 took their own PA, didn't they? But yeah, you're right, Simon. That's why they, you know, look at those photos of Cream, you know, and yeah, you know, they needed that volume.
Yeah, you know, I mean, and I know a 100 watt Marshall is loud, but in the Albert Hall, you know, it's you know, without miking it in the PA, it can't have been that loud when you got up in the, you know, if you were right in front of the stage, it would have been loud. But once you go back a bit, I don't think it would have been that loud. Do you?
No. No.
You know, and Eric's playing with his, you know, his JCM 45. You know, we kind of, you know, in clubs, yeah, it would have been loud, but you know, because he cranked it right up. But actually, I don't think in, you know, get to bigger venues, he's not going to be so loud, is it? Hence that eternal quest for, can you make it louder? You know, can you make 100-watt Marshalls, not 50s, and can you know, 200-watt Marshalls and all that kind of gear going on there. But, you know, without the distortion as well, which is, you know, kind of thing, you know, it's very much, you know, you get that kind of breakup, but you're not getting a heavy distorted sound. One of the things. So I think that's, you know, that's quite interesting. Those photographs show all of that, and they give you a good insight, you know, if you look into what band playing was like in the mid-60s, you know, kind of what they were trying to do. But yeah, really cool stuff. I enjoyed those a lot.
Cool. Side 2.
I think they say a lot of things. Yeah, side 2. So track 6, Mr. Downchild, which is a Simmons Youlden original. This again, this is a brilliant use of dynamics, isn't it? Again, an unusual choice for the beginning of a side, but I can see, because it starts off kind of whisper quiet, doesn't it? That kind of, you know, way back, it's all very quiet, very restrained, kind of piano, hi-hat, bass, you know, very restrained singing. You have to, you know, you have to turn it up, don't you? You turn it up because you think, what's going on? You turn it up, then about you get, you know, you're very restrained. The first minute and a half at least is, you know, before the guitar comes in. Again, in quite a gentle way, kind of soulful playing, and the rhythm guitar's just playing kind of single chord, just downstrokes, kind of, you know, and it gradually gets louder, you know. And so clearly that build up, that dynamic build up, it's, you know, until, you know, Kim clearly takes a, you know, couple of solos. The first is pretty cool and, you know, controlled, but the second one is that classic kind of, you know, amp in one corner and mic way off, you know, and he absolutely letting fly at it, you know, doing that, you know, that classic kind of what we now know to call a classic Beano sound. You know, I've got a Gibson into a possibly a Marshall, I don't know quite, but, you know, but that microphone way back as if it's the audience, you know, and he absolutely you know, laces into it with tremendous passion and great playing at the end. So I think that, you know, that you need to, you've got to be careful with this. You know, you turn it up in the quiet bits, then you really get it in the loud bits. So, but I think that it's, you know, it's a very kind of emotive, you know, dramatic piece to open side 2. I gave this a 10 out of 10. Never a skip. I thought this was great. I thought it was a fantastic beginning to side 2, and yeah. So yes, 10 out of 10 for me. Never a skip. Andrew.
Mr. Downchild is exactly what the song
he's doing his eyebrows up.
Is exactly what the song title is. It's a somber number, isn't it? The star for me on this track is the drums, and there's an interesting set of vocals going on here from the singer, and there's these delicate little touches on the guitar. But at the 2-minute 43 mark, boy, the song sparks into life. And clearly, for me, on this track, you're hearing the Clapton influence. You never heard it before on side 1, but clearly on here, there's a Clapton thing going on here. It's a remarkable solo. That's not necessarily a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. And what I love about this track too is that the overdrive on this track is so much different from the overdrive on side one, and the reverb. I love the fact that they brought some reverb into this solo. It's a standout. It's a standout, my gosh. And I too, like the Rock Professor, have given this nothing other than a 10 out of 10. It's a standout second side starter. Brad.
Yeah, well, I agree with you both, gentlemen. This is a fantastic way to start the second side. I mean, wow, great song. In a bit of contrast to the way they started the first side with that slow blues. This one just really, it's got that mellow intro to set the mood, but I love the way the song builds up. It's got some very percussive drumming, some great guitar playing, like you said, Andrew, around that 2 minutes 40 section. I love that natural room reverb. Sounds unreal to me. I'm big on hearing room sounds with instrumentation, and you can tell that they mic'd that cabinet up, whatever cabinet they were using. It was mic'd up, and they were using the room mics more than the close mic. It's beautiful. I love that. Some very, very heartfelt, emotive singing on the song as well. I too gave it 10 out of 10. Never a skip, gentlemen, and it's a great song. Fantastic.
Wow.
So there we are. Yes, yeah, yeah. Fantastic opening track to as you say, using all the dynamics and again doing something they haven't done before is great, and keeps it moving forward, doesn't it? As a same thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, track 7 is getting to the point. The title track. Again, this is the instrumental. Another instrumental on side 2. Kind of basically, it's a sort of got that fuzz guitar. It's a shuffle basically with fuzz guitar, piano, bass, and drums. Again, a showcase for Simmons' guitar playing. Pretty mellow tone, but passionate playing. Great piano solo as well. Very honky tonk train blues right hand. That is great. And you've got that dynamics as well. Dropping down, the guitar solo is quieter, to about 220, and back in loud and proud with some stinging solo playing at the 3-minute mark, and again dropping back into more mellow playing. I give this an 8 out of 10, and never a skip.
Getting to the point, is that the track we're doing?
It is.
Okay, I was just making sure, because I was just writing to Holly. We'll talk about your question after the show, Holly. We won't digress from the ranking, and we'll answer your question. It's a great question. If you just want to hang around for half an hour or so. Getting to the point. What's going on here? That's the first thing I wrote, Brad. What's going on here? Where are all these guitar tones coming from? This blistering reverb that's drenched in the solo from the previous song. And then now we get this warm natural overdrive on this number. And then the double stops. Again, there's a different technique. The double stops is certainly bullying itself through here as a technique on this number. And obviously this is where the singer Simon goes and has a ciggy or a beer, because in the set, isn't it? Because he's gone, so he's probably going up buying the beers, bringing them back for the boys during the gig. I'm shocked, Brad, that this isn't more popularly something famously known. I'm blown away by it. Rock Professor. Okay, no, there's no animosity here. We're all about love. We're all about sharing the experience. And my experience dictates that I must Brad score this song.
Wow.
I must Brad score it. Brad.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well done.
How do I follow the one and only Andrew after a ranking like that, it's hard to follow. Sometimes I don't like this third spot, especially when Andrew's before me. It's like, how do you follow perfection? I'm not gonna elaborate too much more on this song I always like a nice up tempo blues. I especially love the piano playing in it. The guitar tone. Now, you've got a good growl and a real thick tone to the sound here. It's different than any of the other tracks. I'm not sure what guitar it is, but it sounds like it might be slightly hollow body or something like that. Whether it's
could be,
something like that. Yeah. It's a nice growl to it. Again, the guitar playing. I mean, I love that guitar sound and everything, especially. But I love the solo. I love the piano solo. The breakdown section at around 2 minutes 40 is fantastic, and then how the song builds back up. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. It's never a skip for me, Andrew and Simon.
Fair
look at me,
enough.
I'm clearly being harsher than you guys have had it. I think 8 out of 10 is a perfectly acceptable score, though, don't you? Is it not?
Of course, but it resonates. That's all.
No, that's fantastic. That's really cool. So track 8, the penultimate track on the album, is "Big City Lights," which is written by Bob Hall and Chris Yulden. I'd say it's a very kind of disciplined affair, isn't it? Begins with guitar and piano, and then adding vocals and bass, but remaining without drums. So again, it's kind of chosen a track each side without drums, which is quite interesting, as a contrast to the previous track, and certainly a contrast to the next one. Again, the Hall and Simmons play call and response through the solo, and great singing from Chris Yulden. Great change of pace, just taking it down between the big tracks. Again, I gave this an 8 out of 10 and never a skip. I feel like this is, between the bread of the two, the last track and the previous one. This is a sandwich. So yeah, 8 out of 10 from me, never a skip. Andrew.
Okay, so I'm just concerned about so how many tracks have you got to rank, Rock Professor?
One more.
Okay, so
on the original album, there was one more. Sorry, am I going the wrong way?
No. Well, I've ranked what's on Spotify, so I've got.
Okay.
What did you rank, Brad?
I just did the original album, which is the 9 tracks, I think.
Okay, no problem. That's fine. That's cool. I will talk about one thing though in the conclusion on one of the tracks, if that's okay. If you guys will allow me, I'll use that as my conclusion. So we're doing Bright Lights, Big City Bright Lights. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So the keys are the star for me on this one, but then Brad, that guitar sneaks in again. Kim can't help himself. He just can't keep him out of these numbers. If he's not scorching the fretboard, he's sneaking little notes in, and he's doing that on this track. Well done. 8 out of 10 for me. Nice little album filler.
Yeah. It does. It's an album filler, but it's a great album filler in my opinion. It's got piano, the guitar, that little intro is cool the way it starts. It's emotive. The singing incorporates like that traditional blues stylings again. Great little interplay between the piano and guitar in certain points, and I thought I'd mention that because it's very cool. That guitar solo to me, I don't know if you guys picked up on it or not, but it's very early B.B. King to me, the solo. It's got a lot of that stylings in there. I gave the song 8 out of 10. It's never a skip for me as well. Great song and a great second last song.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yes. Interestingly, I know there are 3 other tracks that are on Spotify, aren't there, actually, that I didn't do. I mean, I have listened to them, but I didn't particularly do them as part of the ranking of the original album. So the last track on the album, the tour de force, is "You Need Love," which is Willie Dixon. So, as I discovered it, probably your last chance to hear Willie Dixon's "You Need Love" before Led Zepp transformed it into the mighty anthem that is "Whole Lot of Love." But clearly, it has saying the roots. It's already well on its way to becoming a rock as opposed to blues, complete with the with the end of set trimmings like a bass solo, a drum solo, dueling guitars, and everything else. But that's what gigging bands had to do in those days, didn't it? You had to have a big number to finish, and this clearly is the big number to finish. And what better place than the end of the album to finish it? It's over 7 minutes, getting towards 8 minutes, so there's plenty of chance for everyone to stretch out. And it's got the galloping drums and bass to begin with, electric guitar solo playing, and you've got vocals. You've got those dramatic choruses with the stops in them to keep it going. Biting guitar solo, and then you kind of drop down 245 to bass solo with some busy drumming underneath. Clearly, you could use this for almost anything. Introducing the band, also, they don't actually do it, but you could do that on bass guitar, all of that. You have guitars back in, you have dueling guitars, driving bass, great bass playing on here, and it's this is 10 out of 10 and never a skip from me. It's it's a great ender, and you can see why they would have this as a gig ender, because that's what does it. It seems to be one of those things where that's what how they've organised it to do it. They said, we need a set ender, and we need also thing to do this, so we're going to arrange a track, and this track, and we're going to do it like this, and so everyone gets a chance to have a go. Except there's no piano on it, interestingly. So I don't know what the keyboard player did live, but he was having a curry like Rick Wakeman. But yes, a fantastic end to the album. 10 out of 10 for me, never a skip. Andrew.
I'm in two minds, ladies and gentlemen, here. So I'll talk a little bit about what the song is, and from my perspective, obviously. One thing I think we've got to remember is that the British Electric Blues guys had to have some numbers that were identified or labelled back at the time rave songs, before raves became popular in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, where you took drugs and went to a rave. Back then you were drinking pints of lager, Simon, and having ciggies, and and you had that upbeat blues. The Yardbirds did that, didn't they? There's great examples of it. And John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, if you listen to some of the early bootlegs and some of the live stuff, they do that because you have to have that opportunity for guys to get drunk and jump up and down. They're not playing in stadiums, ladies and gentlemen. They're playing in clubs and small halls. And even in 68, they're doing that. So this song is part of that tradition of these English cats doing this rave number. It's a classic example of a British blues rave number, in my opinion. The drum is just obviously doing its thing. Really, really important, because if you're going to have drunken lagerlouts, Brad, jumping up and down, you got to have something to jump up and down to. Clearly, they do that. I've given this a 10 out of 10. I'm glad the Rock Professor made the connection between this song and another famous band who we love on this show. And again, that cultivating of classic blues by these English guys and doing something unique and distinct with it is just remarkable. I never get tired of hearing about it, listening, or talking about it. 10 out of 10, Brad. Wow,
that's cool. Again, hate following you guys, but I'll do my best to try and match you guys. I think this is a great version of the song. I actually really, really enjoyed it. I listened to it quite a bit. Great vocals, and that shuffle feel on the drums is really cool. I love the accents, and I love the way the guitar rolls. It's got that steam train feel about it. You know, that blues traditional sort of like a train's running, steam train running. It's some great soloing. You know, it's like a journey, this song. Like Simon mentioned, it has a bass solo, there's a drum solo, there's great guitar solos. Look, I couldn't think of a better way to end this record, and you can only just imagine, you know, jamming this song out. That this song probably could have went for half an hour or more if they really, really wanted to. You know, I have to give it a 10 out of 10, and it's a great way to end the album. So a great album too. Well done, Savoy.
Awesome. Before I hand it over to you guys, there's a couple of things. Thank you, Holly, for the nice words about my mum. She would have been 78 today. Thank you for that. Miss you, Mum. I miss you every day. Thank you for that. I'm just going to wind up my conclusion, guys. So, because I ranked the whole album, so I'm going to talk about the last number, if that's okay, because I think I've got some interesting points here that will bear well for my conclusion. So I won't do two conclusions, I promise. So, someday people, right? Listen to me. Do you have an ear? Are you guys listening?
Yep.
Are you listening? Okay.
Listening hands.
I've been listening to British Electric Blues for a long, long time. I've been listening to Eric Clapton for a long, long time, ladies and gentlemen. Been listening to Jimmy Page and Peter Green and all these great guys for a long, long time. But I have to tell you, when this show ends, go and listen to that last song, Someday People. The first 58 seconds of that song is one of the most beautiful, exquisite examples of guitar playing and guitar tones I've ever heard. It's a tragedy, it's a travesty that Kim isn't more famous. And I'm proud that our channel here speaks about some of these left field artists. You know, we love talking about Jimmy and Eric here, don't we, Brad?
Yes.
You know, we've taken Juicy Lucy steps in the past, and we're doing a little bit here with Savoy Brown. And I think we've paid homage to a great guitar player, a great musician, Simon. That 58 seconds for me just sealed this whole album, Simon. Just a fantastic guitar player. And I'm going to make it a mission for me this year. I'm going to go back and I'm going to listen to more and more of this guy. I think I'm missing something, Brad, by not listening to this guy, this band. I'm missing something out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you can see why Chicago friends, you know, Bob and Curtis and Michael, why they hold him in such high regard, because he's absolutely in there, isn't he? And doing his part of that British blues explosion in the mid '60s and stuff. But, and you're right, Andrew. That last track is great, isn't it? The sound of the. I agree with you completely. Yes, yes. I just didn't do them. I did listen to it because it's on Spotify. You just run it on Spotify, and it's and I think you're right. I think that they, alongside Juicy Lucy, Keith Hartley,
yes,
all these bands that we're trying to maybe one or two people go and have a listen to them and stuff like that. And I think it's really worthwhile listening because they're part of that, the fabric of what we do here on the British Electric Blues Show. And these bands are as much a part of it as Led Zeppelin is and Eric Clapton is. I mean, I absolutely think that is true. What they were doing here is is up there. Didn't quite somehow ignite in the same way as say the Beano album does, but quite has a kind of historical significance of the Beano album. But I think these do have a historical significance in these albums, and I think that they show what people are trying to take that American blues thing and absorb it themselves and trying to be authentic, but B, taking it on, being a bit more rock about it, a bit more, what the new the new thing is, as I've said before on this channel, the future was wide open then, to quote Tom Petty, and you could take it anywhere, do anything you liked with it, and I think that doesn't happen often, does it? That sort of zeitgeist, and to be able to take it on, and I think these are important bits. They're important bits of filling in the picture of British electric blues in the mid '60s. So I think I was really, I was really pleased to lead on this because it was a really great record, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it took obviously Kim's passing for us to bring it through. But there's one other thing that I want to tag on to, and this is Brad's motto. The song before Someday People is taste and try before you buy. Brad was saying that for years. That was his personal motto. But seriously, I'm being serious. No, I'm not. But Brad, go and listen to that track, and you can hear Hendrix in that track.
Yeah, I will. 100%.
So they're even listening to Hendrix. So again, these guys are remarkable musicians. I'll stop talking now. I'll give Brad an opportunity to talk because he hasn't been talking much.
I'm listening intently, and I'm looking forward to giving that a listen. Those last two tracks, I stuck to the album as I knew it. I didn't know there was extra tracks. I knew they re-released another version of it with two extra. Was it two extra tracks, Andrew, or three?
Three.
Okay, yeah. So I'll have to give that a listen. But
so we should probably double check that again. We've done. Next time we do this, make sure we're ranking the right ones.
Yeah. I guess re-releases are a little bit,
bit of a pain. Yeah.
They're a pain because you don't think to check the extra tracks.
No. It's been a great show. Who's going to tell the people what we're doing next week?
Well, did you want to tell them?
You can tell them. It's your choice, your pick.
I'm going to let the Rock Professor tell the people.
Okay, we're going to the
tell them now.
Next week and the week after. We're going to do 2 shows on this. We are going to the top of the mountain. We are going to the top of Mount Everest of American blues rock playing. We're going to do the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore.
Wow!
I'm tingling just saying it.
Oh, wow!
Can't wait.
I think one of the great records from that era. Absolutely, one of the greatest records from that era. And
we've made reference
really
to that
looking
album
forward. Yeah.
On a lot of shows, ladies and gentlemen, to this band, the two guitar tone, where they got that from, the Fleetwood Mac connection of the 2 guitar tones, and what the Allman Brothers did with that concept, and who they went and inspired. Your mate Billy. Yeah. Just the list is endless, isn't it? Of cats inspired by the Allman Brothers. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many. They were very influential in America. They were huge.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to be honest. I didn't discover this band, Simon and Brad, until the mid-1990s. Well, I knew of the band. Rambling Man was always on the radio and stuff like that. You knew the songs and Layla.
Post.
And Whipping, and we knew who Dwayne, but I didn't know this album until about 94, 95, Brad. And I wasn't listening to this when I was a teeny bopper. So.
Yeah, I think I'm the same though, Andrew. I went backwards with them 100%. I wasn't really probably the closer to the year 2000s is when the early 2000s is when I went backwards with these guys.
Craig, hey Craig.
Yeah, CHS Custom Guitars, Craig. Good morning.
Awesome. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Come on a show. Craig, come on a show.
Choose an album. Come on a show. Yes, don't choose an album. Just come on a show.
Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, that's cool. Very cool.
Sorry for interrupting, Brad, but yeah. I be interested to hear what you guys have to say about this album.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk a bit about the gear, ladies and gentlemen, in the first show too. We'll get that over and done with. It's just pretty easy. It's just Les Pauls and Marshalls, isn't it? Oh, and
Organs.
and things that go on fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're keeping it clean. We're keeping it clean.
Do
Yes.
you want to do Holly a favour? So I'm going to isolate you because she wants to know what a plexi is. So I'm going to isolate you, and you can point on your amps where the plexi came from. So it was just the plastic. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently the name originates with its shiny plexiglass panel commonly used on Marshall amps between 1965 and 1969.
Yeah.
There we are.
That's all.
I can't. Am I pointing to the right thing? Yeah.
You're pointing.
Yes.
You're a good pointer.
Yeah, you're pointing at the Marshall amp. Yes, the right thing.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
That's
He's
what
coming
the answer
soon.
is, Holly.
He's coming soon.
Good. Fantastic, Craig. That would be great. Yeah. 'Cause what you do is amazing work.
Oh.
All that
Oh.
paint work is amazing stuff. He does customizing guitars. I don't know if people have seen it on Facebook. I follow him on Facebook. Some of the stuff is amazing. Amazing paintwork stuff.
Not only that, the guy's a player.
Yeah.
And a great player.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
Yeah.
And a chili man too. He goes to chili comp. Oh yeah, yeah. Nice dude.
3 a.m. where he is, yes.
We'll put you to sleep. We'll put you to sleep, brother.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. Put us on, lie back. You'll be in the land of Nod in seconds.
We'll put you to sleep. It'll be a demonic sleep, but at least you'll sleep.
Yeah.
Actually, if you could I just say, if you want a podcast to fall asleep to, right?
Yeah.
This is my recommendation. Okay, serious recommendation. Fall of Civilizations. If you want to go off, put on Fall of Civilizations. It's on YouTube. You can get it, or on Spotify. You can get it. It's just he's got a very mellifluous tone and it's beautiful music and stuff. You'll be gone in minutes, I tell you. Fantastic. It's a really good podcast as well. Really good. But if you want to go to sleep, man, you just put it on, lie back, and his voice takes it to be gone.
I'm really glad. I'm really glad, Simon, that you didn't mention any other channel. I'm glad you mentioned that one.
Yeah.
No. No misbehaving at the back, please.
I was getting ready to drop the Rock Professor out.
She's ready to boot me out for being scurrilous and content. No. There we go. I'm being. It's also a really good podcast. That's a really good historical thing. But he has a. If you're at 3 o'clock in the morning, if you're awake, you put it on. It's just beautiful. You'll be gone. I mean, it's beautifully produced and everything. It's got beautiful music. Really calm. And he's got a very measured tone of talking. Yeah, you'll be gone
Awesome.
like that.
Holly, I'm going to play the video now because we're going to wind up. I'm sorry I didn't bring the mug home. I left it at work. So the video that I shared with you, I'd love to play it here. Forgive me for because I just had to get out. So sometimes you just got to get out. So
Have you seen what Craig's just said about you?
No.
Guitar fan of Andrew, looks like Johnny Bean's grandpa.
Do you know what? Do you know what, Craig? I used to say to him, "I'm your future," and he never understood what I was saying. He thought that I was talking about the looks, but I was talking about something bigger than that. Oh, my Lord! Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Yeah,
Fantastic. Nice one.
I detect your wit and sarcasm too. Here's the video. If you guys missed it,
Anyway,
hold on.
I've seen
Holly,
this photo before. I received this nice gift. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Holly.
Thank you, Holly. And Craig, one other thing too. I'm better looking than him.
I just read it down.
Oh dear, lovely.
You know what they say about silver foxes? You know what they say about silver foxes, eh, Rock Professor? You know, you know. You know.
I think we should get out of here before it gets us into even more trouble. Oh look, got to do the eyebrows. I've got tremendous.
Oh my lord! What
Brad's
am I missing
outnumbered
here?
2 silver foxes to 1.
Good night. Yeah. Well, wait. You see, I got hamburgers too, bro. All right, we're out of here. We love
Can we have some order,
everybody.
please? Yes, let's get out of here.
Yeah. We love everyone.
Thanks, Greg.
We love everyone on this channel. We love everybody. We just love everyone, don't we?
Yes.
Yes. We have a lot of fun, which is great. Yeah. So I'll say goodbye to everyone quick before we get ourselves into more trouble. So well, scroll back up the top. So Nelson, Tim, Ellen, thank you so much, guys. Gret Zeppelin for dropping by. John ZD3 Arvin, of course. Craig, thanks, Craig, for dropping by. Fruitcake Tony, Holly, of course, Holly. It was great to you. Great mug as well, Holly. Fantastic. Thanks for that. I think hopefully that's Gret Zeppelin. Yeah, I think that's probably everybody. Hope I got everybody. Take care. Have a great week. And we'll see you next week for the Allman Brothers live at the Fillmore. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.